There was a man in Athens. He had no army, no weapons, no throne, no official power, yet Athens feared him. This fear did not shout. It did not march through the streets. It did not spill blood. This fear was silent, because this man did not teach people how to fight. He taught them how to think. His name was Socrates. Socrates did not give answers. He asked questions, and those questions were sharper than swords. He walked through the streets of Athens. He stood in marketplaces. He let young people gather around him. Then calmly he would ask, "What is justice? What is good? Do you truly know what you think you know?" At first, people smiled. They were confident, certain of themselves. But as the questions continued, that certainty began to crack. Sentences tangled. Answers contradicted one another. And then a realization struck. They did not actually know what they thought they knew. That moment was dangerous. An enemy with weapons can be defeated, but a person who becomes aware of their own ignorance can no longer be controlled the same way. Socrates did not overthrow governments. He did not write laws. He did not call for revolution. But he did something far more threatening. He dismantled the false pillars inside people's minds, and Athens felt it, quietly, slowly, with a deep, growing fear. This fear was not of a man. It was fear of a question. And for the first time in history, a society realized something unsettling. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon is not an answer. It is a question. Late 5th century BCE, Athens believed it was the freest city in the world. Here, citizens spoke openly. They voted. They shaped the laws. Democracy was not just a system of government. It was Athens' greatest pride. But beneath this pride, a deep exhaustion was growing. Athens had been broken by war. The Peloponnesian War left scars not only on the economy, but on the mind of the city itself. There had been defeats. There had been hunger. There had been disease. And most dangerous of all, there was uncertainty about the future. In moments like these, societies do not search for truth. They search for comfort, and comfort often comes in the form of silence. On paper, Athens was free. In reality, people were becoming afraid to think differently. Because democracy is not just majority rule, it requires tolerance. And Athens was losing its tolerance. Those who asked questions began to look dangerous, especially when the questions came from the young. When old beliefs were challenged in public, the city needed someone to blame, a symbol, a name, and slowly that name took shape. Socrates. He did not break the law. He did not call for rebellion, but he did something more unsettling. He exposed the answers that people gave themselves to avoid thinking. Democracy had given Athens freedom, but a frightened democracy often looks for its enemy within its own freedom. And Athens was about to do exactly that. Socrates did not look like a revolutionary. He wore no fine clothes. He held no office. He claimed no authority. He lived simply, walked barefoot through Athens, and owned almost nothing. Yet his influence was immense. Socrates never wrote a single book. Everything we know about him comes from others, his students, his critics, his enemies. And this alone tells us something important. Socrates did not want to be read. He wanted to be confronted. He believed that wisdom was not something you could hand to another person. It had to be discovered, painfully and personally. At the center of Socrates' philosophy was one radical idea. The unexamined life is not worth living. For him, a good life was not about wealth, power, or reputation. It was about moral clarity. He believed that most people did not act wrongly because they were evil, but because they were ignorant. And ignorance to Socrates was the greatest danger of all. This is why he asked questions, not to humiliate, not to dominate, but to expose false certainty. When politicians claimed to understand justice, he questioned them. When generals spoke of honor, he tested their definitions. When priests claimed moral authority, he asked what virtue truly meant. And almost every time, the result was the same. Confidence collapsed. Certainty vanished. Socrates discovered something unsettling. Those who claimed the most knowledge often understood the least. This made him deeply unpopular. Because Socrates did not attack individuals, he attacked roles. He revealed that power, status, and tradition were often built on fragile assumptions. He once described himself as a gadfly, a small insect that bites a powerful horse to keep it awake. Athens, he said, was that horse, comfortable, proud, and slowly falling asleep. Socrates' mission was not to overthrow Athens, but to prevent it from becoming blind to itself. And this is why he was dangerous. Not because he offered new doctrines, but because he removed old illusions. He did not give people answers. He left them alone with questions they could not escape. Socrates had a method. Today we call it the Socratic method. This is how it worked. A person makes a claim. Socrates asks a question. The answers begin to contradict each other. The claim collapses. Socrates never said, "You are stupid." He simply demonstrated that you do not actually know. And his most dangerous sentence was this: "I know only one thing, that I know nothing." That single sentence placed every false certainty under threat. Eventually, the questions became too dangerous. So Athens gave them a new name: crime. Socrates was formally accused of three things: corrupting the youth, rejecting the gods of the state, introducing new beliefs. But none of these accusations touched the real problem. Socrates was not teaching rebellion, he was teaching doubt. He did not tell young people what to think, he taught them how to question. And for a frightened society, that was unforgivable. When power feels threatened, truth is rarely attacked directly. Instead, it is renamed. Questioning becomes corruption, thinking becomes disobedience, ignorance becomes loyalty. Socrates did not change his words. The city changed their meaning. And once truth was given a criminal name, the verdict was only a matter of time. The trial began. Socrates could have defended himself. He could have asked for mercy. He could have accepted exile. His friends even urged him to escape, but he refused. He said, "If I live by breaking the laws, everything I have taught becomes a lie." He chose principle over survival. He valued freedom more than his own life. The sentence was carried out at sunset. There was no executioner's blade, no crowd screaming for blood, no public spectacle, only a small prison cell, only silence, only a cup. Socrates was given the poison, hemlock, a slow death, a cold death, a death that creeps upward through the body. His friends were there. Some were crying. Some could not look at him. Some begged him one last time to escape. Socrates did not rush. He did not tremble. He asked a simple question: "Have I forgotten anything?" Then he took the cup and drank it calmly, as if it were medicine, as if it were ordinary. The poison began its work. First numbness in the feet, then the legs grew heavy. Slowly the cold climbed upward. The body was failing, but the mind remained clear. Socrates lay down only when told it was necessary, not because he was afraid, but because he respected the process. His final words were not about death, they were about duty. He reminded his friends to repay a small debt, a sacrifice owed to the god of healing. Even in death, he spoke of responsibility. And then, his breathing slowed, his eyes fixed. The cold reached his heart. There was no scream, no regret, no resistance, only stillness. Athens had silenced a man, but something had gone terribly wrong. Because while the body lay motionless, the questions did not die. They escape the prison. They walk back into the city. They move from mind to mind. Socrates was gone, but his refusal to betray truth, even to save himself, had become immortal. That quiet death echoed louder through history than any violent execution ever could. And perhaps that was the final lesson. A man can be killed, but a question, once asked honestly, can never be executed. Socrates is gone, but his question is still here. Do you truly think you know what you believe you know? And perhaps this is still the greatest fear of power, the thinking human being.